Hi, and welcome to She Is Podcast, a place of creation, a place where we are unfolding and deciding how this shall go. My name is Corrie Thorne, and I am the emotional and spiritual consultant, owner and creator of More Than Existing, and the woman who truly is stepping into her new self, her new skin of really, truly, finally stepping up as whoever she is and whatever she shall be. So these podcasts are really truly uh, me, about me becoming me. And it's a world where I'm finally making something about me. I decided this morning that this one would be about weathering the storms, is what I was going to talk about, and getting through. And it is being recorded on Good Friday, which is a very special day to me, and of course to many, as I have a personal relationship as a channel with Jesus and channeling Jesus since I was a little child and not really recognizing all the time that I was channeling Jesus, but I do. He was a spiritual healer who walked upon earth just like myself, and a man of God, of course, and a man of word, and he was truly a man who was walking a new way that not everybody agreed with. And so because he was walking a new way and walking a way that people didn't agree with, um, he had to be crucified for that. There was some price to pay for choosing to try to help people in a new way, use love, to use love as the way, to be open, to be kind, to be able to trust that he was being called upon. A whole lot more goes with that, but that's just a story. Um, but where I am today in my work and where I want to go with this is about the seventh recording I've made this morning. I've been in my chair sitting right in front of the computer. I've been over in my regular podcasting place when I do vlogs. I've been all over the place in my office trying to find home, trying to find a comfortable place, and I am not comfortable right now. And I'm not comfortable in my skin. I'm not comfortable with who I am. I've gone through a major change, and I just finished last night, on Thursday night, finished the creation of the major parts of More Than Existing, all four levels. I should be proud and accomplished today, and I don't feel like that today. I feel like I'm just like still all over the place, and that's my energy. And I also just have this sense of um, truth, truth. So I've weathered the storms is such a truth. I have been on a journey. I've been on a long journey, and I've been on a journey of awakening and awareness, and also uh, just stepping into me. So early this morning, I had a beautiful session with somebody that isn't a special person in my life, but when I stepped in, I'm not, well, don't ever, I'm not calling people sessions. That's not what I'm doing. So when I stepped into the session, I had my deck of oracle cards I created. And I've probably had, I think this is why I'm so out of my skin right now today, is because I've had a huge message come to me about what I do to myself today, what I do. And so I had my deck of oracle cards out, and I was about to use my deck of oracle cards. And as she showed up into her session, I reached into my drawer and I pulled out another deck of oracle cards that belongs to another creator. And and I was going to read, and I pulled her cards, and I put my cards to the side, and I put her cards in front, and I did a 3 card spread with her cards, and then I did a 3 card spread with my cards, but kept mine over to the side. I was going to trust the reading of her cards before my cards. And as I'm doing that reading, it just hit me. I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't trust my own cards, my own work for a moment. Where's that coming from? And why do I have this? And so when I started out my morning, I had to go redo my birth chart, my natal chart, because I had the time different in my birth. Now I could have just stayed with what I had. It aligns to me. I believed I was born at 3:30, and I've lived by that for most of my life, but apparently I'm not. I'm born after 6. And yesterday was my birthday. My birthday's on April Fool's Day. A whole lot of story goes with that too. And so I turned 50. So at 50 years old, I've been here half a century. I don't really, I'm waking up today like I'm a newbie. I'm new to this world, but I feel like I am in a full crucifixion. I feel like I am being crucified. I feel like it's like I'm being judged. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like there's like every bit of my work is being scrutinized, and I feel like I feel like I feel like I feel like it's like I'm repeat. Like And I know that's me. I know that's my truth. I know that's where I am. And so I went back to this this blog that I wrote yesterday. And I wrote a blog about weathering the storm as well. And I wrote it about two key questions that I'm always asking. It's about letting go of the past and learning to love yourself. And I just recorded another 25-minute thing over there. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't even know what I even said. And I found myself trying to channel through instead of letting myself speak. So speaking of myself and speaking through this and how I've done this to myself is I find myself in an angry love. So the simplest things that I can do, the simplest steps that I can give and answers that I can give to learning how to let go of the past and how to learn to love you, it's a process. So it truly is about it's possible. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, and you have to become consciously aware of everything that you do. And so first thing you got to do is wake up. First thing you have to do is wake up. Second thing you have to do is take ownership and responsibility, and that you have to put the effort in. It takes action. It takes action on your part. It takes action all the way through. And I know this energy is coming in from all over the place for me today. But when I'm holding my cards in my hand because I'm like nurturing and hugging these little cards now because I'm like, I did this to you today. I'm sorry I did this to you. But as I hold the cards and I start speaking, I start to recognize the cards as such a message for me too. And it hit me hard. And I'm like, um, I give away my glory. I give away my essence. I give away not your soul. I can't give it, but I give away my glory. I give away my wisdom. I give away things that are meant for me probably first before it's meant to be handed out. So before I even have things created, before I have anything laid down, I hand over myself, that I live in that place that I'm still apologizing as if I am the person who kind of made everyone else suffer, that I made everyone else be in misery, that I happily have accepted that ownership and responsibility for somebody else's fears and said, oh, I really feel the need that I have to fix that for everybody and I have to make that feel comfortable. That's not truth. And that's been a hard kind of place to be. But I found myself really truly questioning, am I a good person? Am I kind? So trust me, you don't really get over your past. You learn to be able to catch yourself in the experience in the moment and be able to question yourself on it. And I'm in a very big questioning stage in this newbie little body mind that I'm in. So the steps that came up for me and what my answers were to how do you let go of your past? Well, I just told you some of that. And how do you learn to love yourself? Well, I just told you some of that. But let me give you some of these things, these key things that I have discovered. So 4 things that I really got. First and foremost, that I would honestly like to say that it was based on finding that why. It wasn't. It was based on getting angry and truly finding that anger. I could feel like my soul self just got that inner voice got tired of listening to me. It got tired of sitting in an old haggard old body that is wearing down, that is letting the pain get in, that is truly going everywhere to seek answer and wanting doctors to give answers they can't give because there's a lot of invisible in there because it's energy that has formed into something visible or something within the body that is holding me hostage and captive to pain. That's the truth. And so as I found myself to that, I found myself getting very angry. I got angry at being in pain. I got angry at being tired. I got angry at stupidity. I got angry at everything. Everything in the world, I found a reason and a why to be angry at it. So I didn't find a big why. I found myself questioning what the hell's going on in humanity. What's going on with us? What is going on within us that at 32 years old, I'm this sick? This is happening. And so I also got tired of being defined by somebody else, as somebody else telling me that they created me, that if it wasn't for them, I would be nothing. I'd be nobody. So as if I've done nothing in my life or I'd accomplished nothing. And I found those why. So that's how I started my journey. That's how I really started to get true with myself is I had to feel the anger. I had to feel compassion. I had to feel, so feeling love, anger is compassion. It's that whole sense of self of like, why are you allowing this to happen to you? Why are you staying like this? Why do you keep doing this? Why are you rejecting this help? Why are you not accepting this? Why are you accepting that to be true and not that to be true? And so many other things. And so I felt an anger that was not a frustration, but a desire to not become anyone. I looked around and I looked at the world and I looked at how we treat people and we looked at how we treat each other. I looked at how family treats each other. I looked at how everybody, how not everybody, don't take it personal, but I mean, I use this as a like just as a terminology, but as the fact that, I don't want to become anyone. There's no one out there I want to become. And I was already at somebody. There was a lot of people that I mattered to and I was important to. And the people that remembered me or remembered most about me, sadly, were not people who were the closest to me. Some of them were people that I met once and I had an impact upon their lives, that their lives started to change because they had an aha moment or they had a realization or they really truly went home and put the work in after we had a session. And they remembered that because they had so much gratitude and love in their heart for what I had helped them through. Other people were people like my daughter. There's people who really, truly, I was a somebody too. But what I realized was I didn't want to become anybody. If I was going to be inspired by anybody, it was going to have to be somebody who did everything for the right reasons, that truly walked in faith and love and not in judgment, not trying to control, not trying to influence in an unhealthy way, but a faith. I found myself being led by Jesus. I found myself stepping back into that soul self and listening to that deep, deep seated soul self of understanding that I wasn't here to be crucified for what everyone else was feeling and sensing. And my one word was the one thing that would be the panel that broke the back of being responsible for everything that went wrong in their lives. And I didn't want to carry that anymore. I had become so numb and so accepting of all of that, and that I wasn't no longer willing to carry the emotional insecurities of others that they had laid upon me. And so whenever it was laid upon me, I just started the journey of rejecting it. I'm like, no, you can say it to me, and you can say it, but I'm not owning it. It is not mine, and I'm not taking it. And so that soul self started to speak on such a level. And then the other thing was I started to feel a ping, a cry, like I could feel my body crying to me. And I started to feel that it was crying out, saying that I'm not accepting this pain story. I'm not accepting that you're done. I'm not accepting that you're going to quit. I'm not accepting that you're giving up on you. But I am telling you that you're going to have to make some changes. There's going to have to be some changes in your life. And so I could hear the cry from my body. I could hear my body saying, the part of it is that we resist it. We often resist the cry that we hear from the internal self, from the pain, because we don't speak to the pain and ask, what do you need of me? What can I start to do in my life to start to ease the pain so that I can get to the truth? What can I start to do? Because we get the pain and we go through the pain experience, or we have the pain, but it's not the pain that ends up causing us the most issue. It's the misery and suffering that we stay in by not being willing to release and let go of many other things in our lives to get to a truth of what is going to bring us the most comfort, what's going to make our life feel easier, what's going to make our life feel more empowered or um, more embodied, like more embodying that life. And so a desire to stop adding more to the crime allowed me to hear this voice. And when I heard the voice, I heard it as a voice of a woman. When I heard the voice of a woman, instead of the voice of Jesus, I heard the voice of a woman. I heard a voice of a woman crying out to me. I realized this was my voice. I realized that there is another voice, and that the voice that was always speaking and talking is the voice that is conditioned and programmed to speak and talk. That is the voice that shows up to do what she needs to do. She's the voice that is the representation of the persona, the character, the stories that we've created, and the identity is in that voice. And so everything was so automatic. You automatically speak, you automatically connect, you open your mouth, it comes out. And to not be present and conscious with your speech and talk, then you find yourself speaking some really cruel, nice, some not very nice things sometimes. But the cry of that woman's voice that I heard on the inside, she spoke words and languages and things that were so foreign to me, words that I would never have used for myself, like a benevolent being, divine, uh, transformative, brilliant, prodigy. All of these words that she would start to speak of who and what she was referring to me as, I was rejecting. I'm like, there's no effing way that is me. It can't be her because my past doesn't match. Nothing of my past matches everything that I'm getting right now. So constantly I'm crucifying myself based on experiences that I had experienced in the past that had ownership. So the one that traps you in your stories and holds you hostage is you. You are on guard to your pain. You are protecting your pain stories. You're protecting who you were in the past. And that is the parts that keep us from being able to get to our truth. The more I listened to that, the more I realized how there was going to be no magical ending. There was no fairy tale experience, no fairy tale moment. As much as I have been sold that, as much as I had been hearing that, I'm a realist and I'm like, that just don't seem to be real to me. Like, I just don't see that life would be like skippity little daisies through my flower garden and I would never have to worry or experience no more pain in this world. That's not true because life is going to happen. It truly was a voice that was telling me if I could step into this light of who I truly am, then I could be able to understand that I would have everything within me that I would need to be able to move, to shift, to walk through the moments that would occur that were guaranteed to occur within this lifetime that you will have to experience because you will have done the healing work to make the foundation strong, to find that strength and the courage within that on the days you didn't know you had it, and you will not be so reliant upon trying to dig through the past to be a victim to every single circumstance or constantly being hearing in your head, well, you're not strong. You're nothing if you don't have me. And then you're thinking, I'm all alone and I have to deal with this. How do I deal with this? No, you'll know that that stuff is not truth. But you'll know what you will remember is you'll remember the courage that it took to get out of that chattery little voice, to move away from that. You say, if I did that, I can obviously do this. And it's like, and so you find something inside. You're never going to perfect it and it's never going to be a fairy tale life. And is there a happy ending? Your happy ending may not be a happy ending to somebody else. So it depends on how you define the happy ending. Because a happy ending to you, it's like that creating that heaven on earth. When the person dies and when someone leaves earth, the people that are left behind are left to experience what they have in their misery story, their pain. They have their pain story to now have to walk through. That person that left, they're walking into their joy, into that happiness. So is an ending always, an ending is an opportunity, right? An ending is an opportunity. Ending has so much to give us, so much for us to be able to deal with. Another part of this, in this questioning or in this answer, all kind of still in all one, it's about the slow release and the journey to the into that soul release. And so the more that I became in alignment with my mind, my body, my soul, the more that I connected with that, the more that I started to build a truth and to build a spiritual essence, an essence that I could live with, and not so much a person like not so much of creating an identity. And I hate the fact that I use titles on my name. And so it's like I built a relationship with spirit, with soul self, so that I could start to have a slow release and start to discover and learn more about me. And so the next thing, number two, it's returning to a truth that before to a truth before there was self-love. Is that before you can get to the point of understanding self-love, is you got to get to a truth. You don't know who self is, and you don't know love. You don't know who self is and you don't know love because we live so much by the conditioning and by the identity, by everything that we've been created into. So no matter what, no matter who we are and whatever we hold on to, we are so strongly connected into trying to hold on to how we've identified ourselves and by either culture, race, no matter what it is, we hold strong to those type of things. And that's who I am. And this is who we are. This is who my people were. And this is what, did you meet half of your people? Did you ever meet them in person? Did you know them? And so that's when we say, people say, well, don't you just hate that politician? Or don't you just hate them? Like, well, no, because how can I hate somebody I don't know? And it's like, I don't have to like what they do. So see the difference in love language and human language is, no, I don't have to agree with what they do, but hate is a strong, powerful energy that leads you into getting farther away from yourself. I don't know the person. I don't know them personally. I have not had a personal relationship, a one-on-one relationship. So my truth is, you're telling me that we should all be in this hate energy, this fear energy, or whatever it may be, and in that we're supposed to be able to find ourselves in love. Well, the moment that you're in a hate story is the moment you're in relationship with your own shadow self, your own ego. The moment that you think that you are the person being left out or that you're living in the shadows of anybody else is the moment that you really are not in a relationship with self and you're not really understanding them. So all of those things really truly take us farther away. And it has taken traveling to the depths of the darkness to understand this on the level that I can. I cannot probably get it all out in one podcast. Just that I can tell you that returning to truth is an absolute most. What is true to me? What is my truth before society, before family, before people, before career, before job, before I got a university degree, before I got this trades, before I got anything? What was my, before I took on these roles, before I became friends with people, before all of this? Who was I before this? And so we're a spiritual being having a human experience. And we're here to be able to assist and allow ourselves to be the observer to the human and the human experience without allowing the spirit self to interfere too much or the soul self to interfere too much in that. But it's a little bit hard sometimes. Uh, all I knew is that to get to truth is that my truth would never be found in projecting anger or any other toxins or any of my opinions out onto another and holding them accountable. Because I knew what it was like to live with other people putting their pain stories, their fears and insecurities about me. So why would I want to push that agenda and give that energy to another to start my healing journey? The first thing I had to do before writing More Than Existing was that I had to transmute my fears, my anger stories, my hurt stories to one of love, to give it a voice of love, to be able to step into through the eyes of those who I call those so-called enemies, and to be able to see myself, to see me. And if I was in their shoes, if I was in their position, would I have done anything any different? Who knows? You're not there. And so to discover that journey of, it wasn't about who I'm going to blame, who I'm going to lay this on, uh, who I'm going to keep giving all that to. The truth was is that the biggest person who abandons you, betray you, those and has narcissistic tendencies toward getting what they want is usually yourself, because you have a desire. We, as in you, as in us, we have a desire to keep holding on for way too long. And we keep trying to get what we want, and we keep trying to make these things happen. We keep trying and trying and trying. The more we try, often the more we fail. The more that we are confident and we know who we are and we get to know a truth and we can understand that the power of the human experience is to come into love, to come into life, to come into every experience and to step into it with a sense of, I know nothing. And that is what we got about, that's what we know about mastering life, is that to step into it. So it's not about coming into, oh, what can I give? And I'm going to give everybody the best and I'm going to do the best. What can I bring in? What do I bring to the table? It's a good way to kind of put at it. And to also know that you're walking into a love. So when you're walking into the door of any new experience, you don't really know what it is. You're here to learn more about it. Um, I didn't want to pay. I didn't want anyone to pay for where I was. I didn't want anyone, there wasn't a price to be paid for. I didn't feel that that was something that I ever needed to do my healing work. I wanted the world and those who had been in my life previously to even see through my eyes that all of those stories I had a contributing role in. That when they said no to me, or if they said they weren't interested in me, if I had just walked away, if I had just said thank you for your honesty, but no, my projection to get what I want, it's like, oh, well, you'll learn to love me, or you'll learn to be in my, and the one, and to really realize that the one person betraying and abandoning you is you the most, because every time that you stay hostage to your past, every time that you say, because so and so did this to me as a kid, I cannot be anybody today, and all of the things that I do now is because this happened to me as a kid. So you're giving that energy. So you give the face of that experience as a child. You put that on the embodied energy that you are bringing in today. So the person who's actually doing that to you today is you. You're the one who's robbing you of your opportunity to have a future self. And that's very hard to see. And that's what I talk about, going to the hard stuff. And I know people will judge me on this, say, that's not true. And no, that person, that experience only has the hold over us that we are allowing to happen. Now, there's a lot of very serious cases. And I say, we need a team. I have a team. I have a psychologist. I have, I not so much no more, but I had a psychologist for years. I had my own life coach. I have my own healer. I have a whole team that I work with and still work with on a personal basis to be able to recognize this. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. I am a woman who was born with these incredible gifts to be able to see beyond, to never like what I see at face value, and I can just see behind. The moment I work with somebody, the first thing I see is the child in them. And it's like I see everything of their past because I am a seer, I'm a mystic, I'm a channel. And I've been able to do that since I was a kid. So I can see when somebody's already uncomfortable. I can see those things. I don't step into it all the time and I don't use it when I'm with people. I try to be as human as I can. But I just know the things that are there that, as much as they're trying to help me do any work, I can see that there. And so I've come to realize and learn that the that the people in my life that were there that would have a higher calling or purpose to be in my life are usually there to share some human knowledge that they have. They have human knowledge that's a self-service that is going to help me grow my business and for me to stay out of anything else. That's something that I very much did learn so that I don't try to step into any type of fixing role into fixing them. I feel like somebody needs to hear that. I don't know where that comes from. So the other thing, still all within the same story in number two, is you don't lay everything onto the soul. You're not here to fix the soul. The soul didn't need you. It's not the soul's fault. It's not the devil's fault. It's not God's fault. It's not anybody's fault. Right? Because you don't lay that fault lay out there. And so none of this out there really needs us. Kind of like doing us a favor to be here. So all of the above is just that about when you stop blaming, when you stop blaming and laying everything onto another, and you recognize that you are the culprit of most of the crimes in your life that is causing you the misery and suffering after the original pain, after the original pain, after the original pain, and that you are still projecting it out on another, or another is projecting it onto you, is what's hurting you. The soul is trying to tell you it is hurting you. The soul is trying to say to you, this is hurtful, this is harmful, this is not working. And then that's such a big, I can do a whole podcast on that alone. And then there's honesty and integrity of truth that comes in. And that's that first sign that we get, that first harsh word, that first excuse that is given to us, that first thing that we have, or the first excuse that we give, that we start to justify, or an excuse for why we're doing what we're doing. Those things, those harsh words, those take us farther away from speaking our truth and allow us to start using little white lies. Little white lies will never lead you. It leads you home to you. It'll lead you into one big lie, whereas you start to believe everything that you are creating to stay into a story that's not aligning. And so also when you're the narcissistic tendencies that I speak of, the kids are on the road playing, that the first sign, the harsh, so go back to this. The first sign, the first harsh word you made an excuse for, right there. That was an issue. That first sign of something being wrong when you meet somebody in a new relationship. That first sign, that first harsh word that you made an excuse for, there it was, right there. That is the beginning of your issue. And you may have seen it before through the eyes of another or taken it to be acceptable. But they are doing what we allow them to do. And that takes us from self-love. And then we use this statement. And how many times have you heard this statement? Oh, but they didn't mean it. Or they just don't understand. They're just not there yet. They'll get it someday. Well, those excuses and those things that we allow to happen take us away from ourselves. And I really noticed this in even because I was allowing it in my life, that I was even using it when my daughter sometimes needed me. When she would call or when somebody else would call and say, but what about, maybe they didn't mean it, maybe because I was allowing it. And because I was allowing it in my life, I was then also telling other people, maybe you should allow a little bit of this. But I've come to really understand my truth in this journey. It is not okay. It is not acceptable. It doesn't mean it ends a relationship. It means you nip it in the bud the moment that it starts happening. How do you be able to start to self-love? Here's one of your things. Nip everything in the bud that you can feel that is hurtful, that is not working, and recognize it. And if someone says that they don't want you in their lives and they don't like you, walk away. Why would you try to convince people? Why would you try to convince people? Stop trying to convince people. That's the truth. And so the other thing that I got of this was of when I started asking myself, because I had to ask myself these questions. I teach this, I create it, I do those work, but I don't sit with these answers and think, how will I answer this for somebody who's not doing any of my programs, or that they are? There's a real truth to the fact that we always want to be someone's magical fix. We want to be that person, that special person in somebody's life who's going to change somebody's life. Chances are you're never going to be that. Everybody has the opportunity to learn, to experience through others, and to have the opportunity to be the change in their world that they want to see. If they don't do it, then that's on them. That's not on you. And so what you start to notice is that when they finally get tired of you and they walk away and you say, I did everything for them. How come that didn't work? How come that wasn't enough? You start to notice that they're living their life. They're living their best life. They're living a good life. And then who's the person left behind feeling worthless? You. You're the one left behind. You're the one that's not there because you weren't creating your life. You're trying to create your happiness and joy through somebody else's life. You cannot find your happiness and joy in creating somebody else's life, ever. You can be an assistant to people, you can guide people, you can help people in many ways, but you cannot recreate your worth through somebody else. And eventually, you will start to throw that out onto somebody. There is just how it goes. That's a matter of fact. That's how they tell us this. So because you want someone to be there. You want to be loved. You want to be that. So why does truth hurt? Why does truth hurt? Truth hurts because the ego in the shadow is still running the show. And that's it. Truth hurts because your ego and your shadow is still running the show. Acceptance gives you leverage. Acceptance gives you power. So self-love is not authentic until we are not contaminated by false truth, half-assed truth that spread fear through the body and exploding into the brain and showing the attitude that will leave a hurt or a scar on you or another. And I hope that one really, truly can hit you. Why does truth hurt? Because the ego, the shadow, whatever you want to call it, not true self, is still running the show, still being the truth of yourself, of the self of you that you are putting out into the world, that you are announcing as who you truly are. Acceptance gives you leverage and power. It gives you an opportunity to be able to explore. The moment you can start to not let that kind of truth come in, I'm not saying it's not going to have a sting, because everything that, when it hurts that bad, you end up going right back to old behaviors, old habits, telling yourself the old stories, and you'll never be free of the old stories as long as you keep returning to the same thought. So self-love is not authentic until we are not contaminated by half-assed truth and those little white lies that spread fear through the body and explodes into the brain, and showing the attitude that will leave a hurt or a scar on you or another. That's how you start to set yourself free. So self-love is in the ability to face a truth within, accept that a sting is not a forever wound, until you internalize and create the scene of where the after effects was worse than the effect of the beginning of the truth. And that's when it becomes the misery and the suffering that you start to create your world. It's only the after. The sting is not a forever wound until you internalize it. You let the energy create something bigger than what it really originally was, and you create the scene of where the after effects was now worse than the effects of the beginning of the truth. Then to accept the truth of another, and one that their truth was actually why we call their truth is actually why we call it love. Love does not hurt. It provides space, time, integrity, hope, and faith. When all else falls away, you are still here and you can say nothing. You can say nothing but appreciate the fact that you were in a nothing that has now become an everything. So when somebody speaks their truth and you can accept their truth, that is actually love. When somebody speaks an honest truth and you can accept their truth, that is a love. And in that love, it gives you an opportunity to accept it as a truth, to make the changes that it need to be made in either direction, to work together, to not work together on something, to make it work out, to make a relationship work, or to know that it's an opportunity to make a change in the other direction, to walk away, but to accept that the truth is now there, it is now looking at you, and it's right there in front of you. Last but not least, the past is your reference point. So when you ask me about moving beyond the past, you're not ever supposed to not know of your past somehow. But do you need every detail? No. No, you do not. Last but not least, the past is your reference point and not your living point. It is the place to refer back to gain the tools and wisdom to not define you, but to create you, to match, to match where you were, to match where you can see where somebody else was, so that you can see that energy, but for you not to be it, for you to return to it, not for you to live in it. It is a reference point. It is a place that you go to gain the wisdom. And I also didn't learn. I didn't learn how to fall into self-love. I unlearned. I unlearned and deprogrammed from every quick fix, every magical cure, every manic little moment that said you need this right now, or the big voice with a great platform, but had been so busy building a business in the thought of being the one to heal, but no one else could do for you. Stop being caught in that magical little thing of saying, this is what you need, this is your magic pill. There is no magic pill. You have to be programmed. The biggest illness we have in the world is called conditioning. And we are so programmed by fear. If we can uncondition from it, if we can stop using fear as a motive to sell our businesses, to sell our work, to sell anything, if we can stop doing that, we can be authentic to what we are actually providing to the world, and people can decide whether or not it's of service to them. I don't know if I'm for you. No idea. And so when you can deprogram from everything, from every quick fix, from every diet, from everything, and you start to realize how powerful. And so in More Than Existing, the one thing that I do is you have to decide for yourself. I'm going to give you these tools. I'm going to tell you what to do. And at the end, they're like, sometimes people are like, well, what did I get? And I said, just go see your life. You got you. You got your life. What did I get? What is it? What are we seeking and searching, right? What do we want some big picture for? And it's like, this is about you being upset. You probably got a great opportunity, a great career. There's many things that you can get. This is about going deep to deprogram and to really truly find out what your core values are, what really means the most to you. Not the fear stories, not what you have been conditioned to believe, not what you were told your whole life. Maybe what you're told your whole life was only true until you found out something different. I stepped back. When I looked into my life, the energy invested, the words I created into energy entities that we call conditioning. And I went into a deep thought and I questioned, what is love? I did question it. And I'm still trying to figure out a lot of it because I really don't know. It's been based upon so many expectations and happiness of achieving a desired outcome. Then I questioned happiness. I realized everything I seen or that I had witnessed, most most came with a motive to manipulate a thought, a reaction, or an outcome. And that became very sad to me, that most things were to be of service to everyone else. What I want people to have is not to be of service to me, it's to be of service to them. And I don't want my world or my life to be based around my happiness is defined by the fact that um, I'm watching somebody else be happy and I'm not. I want to be a part of that same flow that everyone else is in. So I'm very open about the fact that the journey that I help everyone else on, I'm still on that journey. There's no doubt I'm not there. And I don't know if I'll ever be there in this lifetime, but I have found peace and contentment. And so the biggest thing about all of this is finding peace, finding contentment, being able to set yourself free. It was in it was in it was in rejection of a truth of a channel who said this, a truth that most will not speak because impulsiveness and influences to keep a person from understanding that self-love is integrity and dignity. Self-love is integrity and dignity. And if you truly want to get to truth, if you truly want to get to truth to what kind of person you are, look at how you treat somebody who don't agree with you. Look at how you treat somebody who has a different opinion. Look at how you treat somebody who lives a different life, a different lifestyle. You want to know the truth of you? Go there. Because how you treat other people speaks volumes about how you treat yourself, or how you truly are representing yourself to your highest good. Because then you are constantly running around posting and sharing all these things about why you did what you did. You're justifying, you're making excuses, you're making exceptions to the rules of the things that you know to be true from the soul self, because the human is acting and reacting out of the way that has taken you back to connecting to a past that you cannot let go of, that you cannot set yourself free from. The past will not be able to be set free. You are given, and the reason why you are given this, you are given a response within the body that is there to be able to guide you, that when you get that ping, you get that notification, you get that little cry of stop, think about this. That moment is to give you a warning that you are about to run out of energy. You don't have what it takes to deal with, to be exposed to this in this moment. You need to stop, pause, contemplate what the answer will be. Can you walk into this? And to give yourself time before you go in. Because the moment you start disrespecting another human, the moment we start disrespecting another human, you are also discounting and disrespecting you. So how we show up that way. So self-love is truly in the integrity and it's in dignity. And so you can't have self-love without being able to have love for others. You can't have self-love and have a hate story that's owning your heart. You can't have self-love and be a victim and be so tied to the past. That's what makes it so hard. The past will always be there. You cannot run from your past. Accepting the things that are out of your control, accepting that it's going to happen, accept that it did happen, accept that you're never going to get the desired outcome for a change of it because you can't change the past. Accepting that the energy of it is dead and you keep it alive by what you keep bringing into it, what you keep bringing alive to it. I'm like, I don't know what's going on my street. There must be a party or something happening out there, but they keep honking horns. And that you're never going to find the deep-seated healing in an impulsive decision. I have a rule that I live by that a dear friend of mine, when I had my very, very first human design done, had said to me, and she said to me, she said, you have to stop speaking to people who don't want to hear you, and you have to give yourself 24 hours before you say yes or no. Instead of, because you want to say yes to everything, which keeps you farthest away from you. You want to say yes to everything. And that's how come I was able to put somebody else's deck of cards before mine today, to go to that trust. was that desire to want to give everybody the absolute best of me, to give the best session, not to just be real, but to give the best. I don't want anyone to ever feel as if I didn't give them my all. But by giving my all, I have lost me. So in that 24-hour decision, I would have to think, is that going to be something that I want to do? If they're asking for something a year in advance, I don't know who I'm going to be in a year in advance. I don't know where I'm going to be. So the hardest thing for me is to give a set decision about something a year in advance, unless the only way I can do it is knowing that I have the opportunity to change it if it doesn't feel right. And then I can be more committed, but not to be tied into something a year from now, or to say yes to things that don't feel like, um, impulsively I'll say yes to everything. But it doesn't mean I mean yes. It means that I automatically speak. And so we automatically speak. And when we can learn to stop being so impulsive, we can stop reacting that way, and we can give ourselves an opportunity to find our truth. And when you find your truth, you're happy with your answer and you're more content with it. Um, I wrote this down. I said, wouldn't it be lovely if everybody could just accept when somebody would say to you, I am not interested in you, and I could give you a story, but I believe you understand what I mean when I say I have integrity. I have integrity. I have integrity and I don't want to do anything to anyone that I would not have done to myself. I would not want to lead anyone into a place that takes them away from all the work that they have done, that they are doing to restore the integrity of the human essence. Wouldn't that be lovely? But most people would be very offended by that. Most people would not accept that as an answer because we are still so far away from understanding what love really means and about the honesty. And it takes us back into the sense of the truth hurts. And that shows us all about the truth hurts. So back to the reference point and back to where I was with the reference point. Back to the past and where I was going with that. That whole sense of, I just get my papers put back in place, I dropped them. Last but not least, back to that reference point again, and not the past being your reference and not your living point. That place. I want to go back there for a moment. So when you look back there, that it gives you those tools that you use. It gives you everything that you need to create your life. It gives you all the tools, the wisdom to not define you, but to create you, to master and to sculpt a life that is not created to be hidden in a box or conditioned to what we should be, but who I am free to be. But who I am free to be. The person or situation of the past is not here to control you. It's not here to control you. I made me stop. The person or situation of the past is not here to control you. You know, you know that you are the one that keeps bringing that forward. So why are you putting their faith on the one entrapping you in your todays and holding you from your tomorrows? This is the first time I read this little statement. I actually didn't write this till today. That person or situation of the past is not here to control you, to control your now. So why are you putting their faith or that faith on the one entrapping you in your todays and holding you from creating your tomorrows? So long answer short, I took ownership. I took responsibility for my life. I stopped blaming, stopped assuming, and stopped creating stories in my head. And I said to myself, as I am well known for saying this about anything that I just don't want to deal with or that I'm done dealing with. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta say, okay, this is a term that I know is like telling me I am now ready to just let things go. I was never ever good So when I'm asked these questions, I would say, there's one thing I never was. I never was seeking and searching a purpose. I never ever had any need to follow a crowd, or I never wanted to get into a box, which caused me a lot of being a rebel, because it also kept me from a lot of other things. But I never wanted to be in a box because I just could not become a follower to fear and misery. And I just could not be confined into having to accept one answer. There had to be more, or that something was not possible. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. But what if I could? And I'd say, but what if I could do it? What would it look like if I could do it? No, you can't do it. But what if I could? Well, you can't. Oh, good. But what if I could? And so I want those kind of curiosity. Well, if you could, well, if you could, then maybe this would be possible. Well, if that's possible, why can I not start trying to achieve that? Why can I not go that direction? Because that's not what girls do. Well, why don't girls do it? So I had a very curious mind. I always questioned very deep. I could not just accept. And I definitely didn't make bad behavior acceptable until I was kind of forced to make bad behavior acceptable. The longer that it was conditioned to me, the more that I made it acceptable. The more that I started to listen to the cry of the voice inside was the more that I started to return to me. And the more I realized that every bit of pain in my body was from the misery and suffering that I was choosing after the fact of the pain, that I kicked myself in the ass for all of the synchronicity moments, for all of the red flags, for all the messages, for all the words that people spoke to me, telling me to not be there, to not do it, to not go there, that I refused to listen to because the ego was so big that I thought I knew what I was doing. I was going to be in control of my life. I thought I knew everything that was best for me, that I was going to do this, I was going to do that because nobody else would know what was best for me. No one else could give me that direction. Sometimes the one who is observing your life may be the person that can help you, that doesn't have a motive to manipulate you, but is that messenger of the day that maybe never ever met you before, but had some wise wisdom for you. I had that experience. That man changed my life. And to this day, I know somewhere along the line I shall meet that man again. Um, but I am not always there. I'm not always there. I'm not always there. I've not fully got to that point of fully understanding self-love. Not even gonna say I did, because if I did, I wouldn't fluctuate like yo-yo in my diet. I wouldn't, I've come a long way in my diet. I talked to the potato chip. I wrote a book called Wine and Chips. It's not out yet. I speak to the potato chip. I speak about the wine, the grapes, and giving up wine. Like there's a lot of things I was able to take, like, to discover that did not belong in my life anymore. It just had no fulfillment to me. It didn't satisfy anything anymore. And so I was able, excuse me, to give that up. But there's a lot of things that still have me questioning. But there's this space. There's there's this heaven on earth. And I do a lot of writing about heaven on earth, which is the space of peace in a world that is so not at peace. So that everything else and everyone else around you, not saying everyone's not, but those that are in your world. So your world may feel as if it is not at peace, but there's still an opportunity for you to be at peace by understanding that there is no sense of breaking free and leaving behind the version of you, the you that has had to walk with you your whole life. That you can be your biggest enemy. So your past is always walking with you because you are your past. You have been there, you have walked that journey. But the essence of the human trying to control and dictate your life, or that's entrapping you, is also you. The part of you that speaks the truth, and that is your truth, that arrived here upon birth, is that soul self that is deep down inside. It's that inner voice, it's your higher self. It is still connected to your human, still has a connection to being human, and a big why. And very much telling you the soul self, deep soul self, is saying, I came here for a human experience and you're providing me misery and suffering. Why are you dragging me through the mud? Why are you not taking me on the nice trails and showing me the nice stuff? Why do you keep showing me why do you keep taking me to the dump? Why do you not take me to the good places? And so when you hear yourself saying that to people, why do you keep hiding me? Why are you not showing me? Why do you not want to be with me? All of those things that you're speaking to somebody else, it's actually what you're speaking to your soul self is speaking to you. Why do you keep taking your soul self on a journey, your spirit? Why do you keep taking it to the dump to show it a good time? Why do you keep, right? Why do you not take it on a beautiful journey, on a hike, and show it the water, the trees, the nature? Let it be around people who are laughing and full of life and love and laughter and just loving life, loving the fact that a tree is growing, loving the fact that the waves are rolling, and loving the fact that sitting around a table full of laughing people is enough for you in that moment. Why is that not what we show? Why do we sit on at the feet of somebody begging them to like you, love you? Why do you sit home crying on the bed because somebody just rejected you? Why is all of that the things that keep you farthest away from you? That is a big truth. I live in awe of the magic and the miracles, and I now choose to see the magic and see the magic in those moments of where you can't make this shit up. I also choose to see the magic in the moments of denial, of hurtful experiences, of somebody else's behaviors and actions. And I choose to see the magic in it. That's a message for me to get out, to return to me, to come home, to return to home. Because I am the one who is here to be the master of this world. And you are here to be able to master your life. So, how do you weather the storms? By being the eye in the middle of the storm and knowing that it's happening, yes, but also by walking away from the storms, by walking away from somebody else's history. Just because you have to walk with your history, do not mean that you have to stay in somebody else's history. It don't mean that you have to stay in somebody else's misery. It don't mean that you have to make somebody else's behavior acceptable. So you don't leave your past. But if it's only your past you're carrying, then you're good. If it's the fact that you're carrying everyone else's past, then you've got too much to have to deal with. And when you're trying to deal with everyone else's past and you're trying to fix that past, you're never going to be able to return to any sense of love because you're always living in misery. You're always in a big ass windstorm that is not serving you. To set yourself free, to be able to move beyond that, really truly means it is time to come home to you. What is my responsibility? What am I in control of? And what can I care for within myself? What can I do? And that begins the beginning of truth. And in truth and in love, in the truth of love, there is dignity, there is respect, there is integrity. There's so many things that you can dig really deep to discover. Most of all, there is faith. And holding on to faith within you, that you have enough within you to bring forth that everything in the world that's going to bring you joy and happiness is a truth that I now live by. But like you and like everyone else, I have my moments of self-doubt, I have my moments of self-sabotage, and I pretty much let myself be put to the side again today, which gave me a big opening. You'll always be in a storm as long as you are putting yourself to the side. And it doesn't mean in the shadows, it means that you take somebody else to be more important than you. You take somebody else to be more valuable than you. And that's the truth. And so you can work side by side and you can do a lot of great things together as long as you keep equal value and equal worth and you treat each other with the same love and respect. And that's how we create a web. That truly is a change in the world. And I hope some way that this helps you today and it resonates with you. It's a bit long, but I had to get it all out. This is the seventh recording. And each and every time there was too much ego infused. And because I am having one of those days, I'm having one of those moments. So that angry love is arising in me. And that angry love that's inside of myself is also inside of you when we get that dream, that desire, that sense inside of us that just says this pain doesn't feel right. And today I'm making a choice to sit with that. And I'm really truly looking at who inspires me the most and what is my inspiration. And each and every day, it'll still be the man that's on the cross and not the ones that made the decision to put him on the cross. Never. That's the same man that put Jesus on the cross. It's the same kind of people that live in the shadows of fear, that instill fear, that put witches on the cross. And that's the same people that keep trying to tell you that they're going to give you the best life and you'll have the happiest life by watching somebody burn on the cross, by crucifying somebody, and then try to tell you all about forgiveness and love and all of those things. That's farthest from the love that you possibly could be. You want to find love, you want to see love, know that if you do the right thing for the right reasons, and that means not causing hurt and harm and showing every other human being on this earth dignity and respect, you may have an opportunity to understand what unconditional love is. Until that day, none of us understand. Much love. Have a beautiful day. I dearly, dearly love and respect everyone who is following along and listening till the end. Much love. Thank you for being with me and a crazy little channel and all over the place stuff that I do. I love you. Mwah.